Hello YouTube, this is Asasu5. Going to talk about the gun community. I'm not triggered this time. Open for debate. Feel free to poke any holes in my logic. And I want to say I have an opinion. I am entitled to my opinion. That's what makes America great. And um, yeah, I'm just really disappointed in certain members of the gun community. Obviously, not all of them are like this, but some prominent figures in the gun community that I genuinely used to look up to as a hero, you know, isn't really that good of a guy. I'm not going to give any names this time, um, but it's the bump stocks again. And if you like bump stocks, I understand you're upset. I'm going to give you my opinions. I'm going to read some stuff to you. Um, First off, this was a Photosaurus Rex says who needs gun bump stock anyway. Sure. What isn't necessarily strengthening the gun community or anyway. You're actually segregating it and alienate people, oppressing them in some ways. Putting them down. Making fun of them. You're doing that towards your own community. Like it or not, we all enjoy the hobby. But yeah, if if that's how you feel, I guess it's good that you make your feelings known. Um, but anyways, he says, "We're it loud and proud. It's time to take FUD purge from all, or it's time for a FUD purge, and from all pro Second Amendment groups like the NRA." This isn't about the stock. The link is in our whatever. Um, yeah, it is kind of about the stock. Y'all have always been arguing about the stock. But yeah, purge. We need to purge the pro Second Amendment groups of FUDs. Now, I don't consider myself a FUD. I mean, I love tactical guns. I love military guns. I study self-defense, different tools that I use in self-defense. I used to be what I call, or what me and my brother call, Tactical Dan, where, we dressed up in 511 pants, Molly gear and stuff, and we wore Maxpedition packs. I still have some of those packs, still use them, but I don't use them as much. But we called these types of people Tactical Dan, Tactical Dan. And basically, it's in your face, tactical. I want to be military or police-like, or whatever. And some of these people are formal military, but they're kind of taking things a little bit far, in my opinion. But yeah, they want to purge pro Second Amendment groups of FUDs. Now, what is a FUD? I had to look it up because I was called a FUD, and I clearly am not. But a FUD, referring to animal FUD, is someone who thinks that hunting or that guns are for hunting. Tactical stuff is not necessary. If you want a gun for shooting, double barrel shotguns or pump shotguns, lever action 30-30s, these are the approved guns of the FUD, is what I understand. And that is not the case with most of the people who are having problems with the Tactical Dans. But to purge us from organizations that claim to protect our rights, do you know what purge is? Is to get rid of something. Stalin and Hitler both purged their communities of Jews in the context of communism, bankers, anybody who was enemy of the state. And purging was either sending them to the gulags or the concentration camps or murdering them. That's purging is you're expelling something, you're getting rid of it. And although they might mean it in a more happy way, we're just going to kick out the FUDs and, it's going to be us Tactical Dans and, we're going to do things right. You're still kicking people out who want to enjoy the hobby. I want to enjoy the shooting hobby. I know many of my friends enjoy the shooting hobby, and they are not Tactical Dans, and they're not FUDs. They can't afford nice AR-15s and stuff, but the stuff that they can't afford, like Taurus handguns and stuff, the stuff that they can afford and shoot, Uh, it tends to be on the more cheaper side, not necessarily the coolest and fastest high speed, low drag stuff. They want to enjoy the sport. Why should we be kicked out of Second Amendment groups? And when I say we, I mean people who disagree with tactical Dans, just because we don't care about bump stocks. And like the whole reason I got into the bump stock debate was because showing an unmodified gun being fired like it's a fully automatic weapon with just your finger just seems like a bad strategy to me. And two, I was genuinely curious why you need a stock if you can do it with your finger. Why spend the money on a stock that does the same thing that your finger can do? If you wish to intercede and, or not intercede, but if you wish to intervene and say, oh, it has this, advantage or this, please do that now. But this particular guy, it was always about the bump stock. He was like, why are you going to ban bump stocks? I can do the same thing with my finger. And then he shoots it, and he does it pretty accurately. He's like, yeah, I can do the same thing with my finger. Are you going to outlaw my finger? And so he was equating that he can do the same thing with his finger that the bump stock did. Therefore, bump stocks should be legal, and you can't ban my finger, which I think is a bad strategy. But anyways, people, poo-pooed on me, was like, oh, I'm not going to get into that at the moment. But my basic argument is, why do I want a bump stock when I really want Select Fire to be an over-the-counter purchase? I want silencers to be an over-the-counter purchase. I'd feel more comfortable about silencers being over-the-counter and Select Fire being a tax stamp. But I still want, I could live with that. I really want silencers. But, I would like to be able to buy a SBR over-the-counter without tax stamps. And some reason that makes me a FUD. I'd rather have a Select Fire than a bump stock, but I don't know. I don't understand things. It just having someone who is vocal and unfriendly to his own community, saying that he wants to purge us from his from the Second Amendment organizations, it just seems bad. Especially if you know what purge means, to get rid of, and considering historical events that used purges, it just seems bad. But and I'll read you what I wrote, and I'll read you what the other people wrote. One guy that I was having a conversation, I was actually enjoying the conversation. I mean, I was aggressive because I have convictions, but he was really respectful, unlike some of the other people I had last time. So I was ashamed that he deleted his post. And again, I'll read to you what I said verbatim. And if you disagree with anything I said, feel free to put me in my place in a respectful manner. Just know that this is my opinion, and I have convictions, and I'm sharing it. I'm sharing my thoughts. And that's what I liked about YouTube. It's an open book. I try to treat it as an open book. But I'm going to read this comment right here, and I'm going to say some things that's kind of wrong with it. Someone posted on this t-shirt thing, I had a FUD come in the other day, tell a customer of mine who was purchasing a 380 Shield Easy as her first gun, that semis are too complicated for a woman, and that all she needs is a snub-nosed 357. I'm not chauvinistic. I don't think that all women can't handle automatic weapons, and if she wants a shield, she's more entitled to it. But really, the snub-nosed 357, has, although it's difficult to shoot accurately, has been a good weapon for women. Mostly because you can stick it in your purse And this is not me, my opinion talking. This is from professionals, NRA trained instructors, ex-sniper, ex-SWAT. The people who taught my concealed carry classes, this is how they explain things. They said, if you're a woman and you choose to carry in your purse, a snub-nosed 38 or 357 is the way to go. And this is what they said. They said, because when you're carrying in your purse, you really don't have the time in some situations to pull the gun out of your purse, take aim, and shoot. He said you're going to be shooting through your purse at the person that's attacking you, and you don't want an automatic mechanism that can jam up. And so if you have like a hammerless snub nose, that's the best gun for that carry method. So this is actually technically very good advice. Now I'm not saying that automatics or that women can't handle automatics or anything. I don't know this lady, but what the guy was giving wasn't necessarily bad advice, depending on the context. And the guy that made the t-shirt post said "FUD for sure," laughing emoji. And so the next one, someone posted on his post on the t-shirt, "Great idea, let's divide our already weak numbers, brilliant." He responds, "You're not the sharpest knife in the drawer." So at this point, someone has a legitimate concern that he's alienating and separating the gun community, and all this guy has to say is that you're dumb. This is someone I used to look up to. We had similar interest, and I genuinely looked up to him. And I think that's why I'm so disappointed, because I did look up to him. But I'm not triggered this time. I just feel like sharing my opinion. Let me get someone post. I posted my original post that said, let's see, because they posted T-shirt Photosaurus Rex, and I said yes, because you can do the same thing with your finger. And according to this Instagrammer, who's proud enough to advertise on he's proud enough, a life member of the NRA, to post it on his homepage. So he's always crapping on the NRA, and I'll tell a story about the NRA as well. But the short is talking about how you don't need a bump stock, and in this guy's videos, he shows himself bump firing without a bump stock. And that was my original, comment was like, why do you need a bump stock if you can do it with your finger? Again, if you feel the need to correct me and inform me on things, feel free to do it. I was generally just trying to get in on conversation, and they're like, oh, you need to just give up your rights and your guns already if you're not with us. They actually said that to me. Not verbatim, but that's what they said to me. Someone posted, let me see if I can find it. Sorry, I'm not organized. Someone posted, if they outlaw bump stocks, then they can outlaw optics and detachable magazines and stuff. And he deleted his post, sadly. He was truly respectful. I spoke aggressively. I wouldn't say rude, but I was, when I believe I'm right, and then when I'm trying to prove a point, I'm very direct. But I said, yes, I'm familiar with the slippery slope logical fallacy. Tell me, why are you fighting so hard for a virtually useless accessory, but not to make silencer safety equipment and over-the-counter purchase? It seems to me that the gun community doesn't have their priorities straight. People are dying in the streets defenseless because their state won't allow them to obtain the tools necessary to defend themselves, while y'all crying about losing what is essentially a Tory, an FU to the ATF gadget, and remarkably, all y'all are surprised that it's a target of control. like I said, I was being harsh, but I was being direct. Um, um, I kind of wish that I would have toned it down because I really didn't want to scare him off the conversation. He did respond back, but he did delete his post, or apparently he deleted his post. But yeah, um, the community is complaining about um, something that is really not necessary, and those people like in Chicago who are not allowed to defend themselves with certain tools. And I think that's a shame. That would be a much more noble cause, in my opinion. Um, I had a friend who moved to Chicago to go to school, and Chicago's a gun-free zone basically, and he had a gun pulled on him. He was scared for his life. He's not a tactical guy. He doesn't enjoy shooting or tactical knives or martial arts. Any of the stuff that we're normally interested in, that's not his thing. He's a magician. He enjoys illusions, and he had a gun pulled on him. And if it wasn't for the group of people that turned the corner right behind him, he probably would have been shot. Because it was like a gang initiation thing. There was no mugging. It was, hey, pulling out the gun, I'm fixing to shoot you. Oh crap, those people behind you. And they took off in two different directions. But yeah, that's what I put. Those people who are not allowed to defend themselves with tools, and we're complaining about a toy, in my opinion. Now, if you disagree that it's not a toy and not a FU to the ATF, because that's how it was explained to me when I first heard of bump stocks, enlighten me. I genuinely want to understand this. And then someone said to me, "LOL, we tried, but Congress wouldn't push it through with the silencers." And I can get down with that. If you already tried and you don't want to try anymore, I can see why you want to move on to a new battlefield. But the guy said that that's not a fallacy if it's actually happening. And again, I was being aggressive, and I kind of regret this, but I was being direct. I said, actually, yes, it is a logical fallacy. They teach it in college. It's just like the true Scott fallacy, the ad hominem fallacy. It doesn't mean that it's untrue, or it does not mean untrue. Or I said fallacy does not mean untrue. It basically means weak or bad argument. I said, that being said, as some have implied about doing, I am not willing to fight or die for something that is so unnecessary that I can do it with my finger. Y'all make it sound like you're willing to go to war for a piece of plastic, but not dead babies. I'm pro-life. Anyways, I'm just trying to show, how, in my opinion, this bump stock thing it doesn't make sense to me. I'm going to admit that. To me, there's much more important things to fight for. Let's see. Y'all tell people that if you're not willing to fight for bump stocks, then you should just give up your rights and your guns because you don't agree. Because some of us don't agree or don't think like you. I'm tired of the idolatry. I am tired of people who are willing to alienate and oppress others who want to enjoy the hobby. Now, if you are willing to do that, I guess that's on you. And that's the thing. There's no such thing as a conversation anymore. I believe that some people do hold firearms in an idol-like position. Although I am pro Second Amendment to very much, used to be at extreme, but I am very much pro Second Amendment. The Second Amendment is a very important amendment, but it's not the only amendment, and it's not the only one worth fighting for. And So I am pro-Constitution, um, and I believe in defending all the Constitution. And I don't get hung up on just the Second Amendment. And guns don't hold any holy capabilities, in my opinion. Um, these people are, I use the term alienate and oppress. They're making fun of people within their own hobby. They're telling them that, if you're not willing to fight for um, a piece of plastic, then you're basically no good. Just give up your rights already. Give up your guns already. We don't need you. And they actually said that to me, and I said, so, according to you, just because I disagree with you, I don't deserve to have my rights. I don't deserve to own firearms. And this guy reluctantly said, no, I didn't mean it like that. I was like, well, yeah, that's what you said. Let's see if I have any more screenshots that I want to read. Okay, here's what I wanted to tell you about the NRA. I am not the biggest fan of the NRA. And this is why. Some of you may remember the U.S. Customs trying to ban one-handed opening knives from importing into the United States, importing, assisted blades, and it was very vague. And this was almost 10 years ago. This was very early in the knife community. I said, don't get me wrong, I'm not the biggest fan of the NRA. They chose not to help me when U.S. Customs was trying to pass anti-Second Amendment policies that would, I put B, but I wanted to say that would ban the import of certain weapons. So I was one making all the phone calls. It was me and my community on YouTube who stopped it. I know that it is like to be let down, but in the end, the NRA is the biggest organization and is trying to piss off pro-gunners and telling them that they are traitors because they don't care about bump stocks and they deserve to be treated as such, does not make for a united front. So basically what happened was when the U.S. Customs wanted to ban importing assisted blades and possibly one-handed opening blades, I called the NRA. The NRA was the first people I called. And I said, hey, we need help with the U.S. Customs. They're trying to ban these knives, which is technically just as big a part of the Second Amendment as guns, because the U.S. Constitution says nothing about firearms. They say arms. That includes swords, bludgeons, daggers, you name it. They don't name firearms. And she said, I'm sorry, we don't handle that. I was like, okay, I was really hoping to get your help, but yeah, okay, if you're not going to help me, have a good day. So I looked up the person who wrote the policy to ban these knives, and I forgot his name. I forgot his name when I made the video, but I posted his phone number on YouTube, and I said, call him. Tell him that you don't want this. And I had a conversation with him, and I told him that the knife community does not want a part of this, and we stopped it. We stopped it without making funny t-shirts, making fun of other people within our community. We stopped it without calling other people stupid. We stopped it by having a united front. If you don't like FUDs, you can at least try to convert them, not make fun of them. And that's why I'm disappointed. These people seem like it's, you're either a tactical Dan or you're not a true American. You're not a true, and this is an ad hominem, by the way, but they make it sound like that if you're not a tactical Dan, then that you don't really support the Second Amendment. That's the impression I'm getting. But again, they didn't say that verbatim, that they have implied it. They told me, if you're not willing to fight with bump stocks, then you should just give up your guns. And like I said, I'm not willing to die for a piece of plastic. I'm willing to die for my family, my loved ones, my God, my life, but I'm not willing to die for a piece of plastic that does the same thing that my finger does. So that's why I'm disappointed. I'm not a member of the NRA. I thought about joining the NRA because I'm like, well, they are the biggest organization that claims to promote firearms. But then I think back about when they refused to help me when I was a member. And keep in mind, critical thinking is something they teach in college. Don't think of me as a snooty person that's more highly educated than everybody else. I enjoy learning, but I sucked at college. I failed at it. I'll admit that all day. But I enjoyed college. I enjoyed learning. But they taught critical thinking, and it's basically trying to think of the big picture, looking at things from different perspective, and avoiding speaking and acting out of pure emotion. And so when I called the NRA, I could have just got any old secretary, customer service agent, and said, hey, I need help for the U.S. Customs ban. She might not have been informed about what the NRA was doing. Now, the NRA didn't advertise that they did anything, but she might not have been in the loop. So she might have been ignorant when she said, well, that's not our thing. We don't handle that. So I might be unjustly judging the NRA about their policies on the Second Amendment at that time. But the impression that I got was that, just because it's not a firearm, we're not going to help you. Even though the Second Amendment says nothing about firearms. Like, it's not in there. Trust me, I read it. But I just want to state my disappointment in some of the big names in the gun community. I love Such. I love Forgotten Firearms. I think it's Forgotten Firearms. I love guns. I love my AK-47. Some of you might be laughing at the AK-47, but I love my AK-47. I'm looking to buy AR-15. I want the Kel-Tec RDBS. I guess I have some more rustic taste. I like antique firearms because I'm a history nut, and so does this guy that disappointed me that I used to look up to. He loves antique firearms as well. But I'm a big fan of the 357 cartridge, so if carrying a 686 makes me FUD, I guess I'm FUD, but I really don't think I am. I know for a fact that a 357 can kill a deer. So if it can kill a deer, it can probably kill a person. And I know that other defensive calibers can do that, but I have experience killing things or killing a deer with a 357 that's similar to the one that I have now. So I feel comfortable with it. I'm more accurate with this firearm than I am with my other semi-auto handguns. I'm more accurate with my 357 than I am with my Walther PP SM2. I was more accurate. It's definitely a lot more reliable than my Beretta Tomcat. The only other semi-auto firearm, or the only two other semi-auto firearms I'll say that I'm somewhat good at, is the Beretta Cheetah and the Ruger Mark III. But I never shot the Cheetah and the Mark III at the distances that I shot this 357. So, you might criticize me for not carrying, the latest and greatest in tactical firearms, but I am more accurate with my Smith & Wesson, and I feel I owe it to society and bad people alike to carry the gun that I'm most accurate with, even though it is very uncomfortable. So that's it. I'm Satsu 5. If you disagree with me on any of these points, feel free to leave a comment. And and if I won't say the guy's name, not the guy who made the t-shirt post, but the guy that was talking to me. I won't say his name because he might not want the publicity, but I will apologize if I came across abrasive or if I came across rude or anything. It's just I have convictions. These are my thoughts. I was sharing them with you. I don't like the name calling and dividing the shooting community. I want a united front when it comes to issues. So that's it. I'm a Satsu 5, and I'm out.